Have you been learning English for years and years, but you still think in your native language? Before you speak, do you need to translate from your native language? This creates pauses and hesitations. It makes you speak more slowly, and you feel more stressed, anxious, and less confident. So today, let's fix that. You're going to learn how to train your brain to think and speak in English. You'll learn 4 proven ways that you can start using today, and you'll see results by the end of this week. And at the end, I'll share some bonus tips as well. Number 1, think during everyday activities. Think of all the things that you do in your everyday life that either are very routine, don't require a lot of conscious thought, or are pretty boring. For me, it would be getting showered in the morning, doing my makeup, doing my hair, and for a lot of people, it might be commuting to work. And then think of all the chores you do, doing the dishes, making your bed, all those various things that don't require conscious thought. Well, why don't you use that time to think in English? Now, you might be saying or thinking in your native language, perhaps, well, Jennifer, what should I think about? What can I think about? And here's the best part. In order to practice thinking in English, you just need to make very simple statements, very simple observations. You don't need to make it overly complex. You don't need to focus on certain grammar structures or vocabulary. Just look around and observe the room you're in and make a simple statement. Let's say you're brushing your teeth. As you go through that process, now remember, you don't have to say this out loud. You can simply think in your head, but think in English. As you pick up the toothpaste, think about that. I'm picking up the toothpaste. I'm taking off the cap. I'm putting toothpaste on my toothbrush. My toothbrush is very old. I should buy a new toothbrush. The toothpaste smells minty. I never noticed the color of the toothpaste before. Now think of how boring this conversation is. In your everyday life, you would never talk so much about toothpaste, your toothbrush, or brushing your teeth, right? But you are doing this in your head to practice thinking in English. And that's just one very simple thing that you do every day, 2 times a day, maybe 3 or more times a day. Think of all the other things and how you can simply make observations about that situation or about what you see around you, and you're going to make those observations in your head in English. As a tip, you can start with simple statements. My toothbrush is old, and then take that statement and try to make it more complex. Can you change the verb tense? Can you ask a question? Can you add an adjective? So you can purposely think of ways to make it more complex as an additional exercise, but start simple and then add on. So if you're committed to trying this exercise, put toothpaste in the comments. Why not? Number 2, speak out loud. When you think in your head, that is very beneficial to train your brain to start thinking in English, to start processing sentence structure, grammar, vocabulary in English. But thinking something in your head is not the same as opening your mouth and saying the words. Once you open your mouth and say the words, it's a different activity. You're practicing your speaking skills. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Jennifer, of course I want to speak. This is the one thing I want to do in English, but I don't have anyone to speak with. I live in a country where there are no native speakers. That's okay, because there are easy ways that you can practice speaking on your own. My favorite way, and native speakers use this activity as well to practice their speaking skills, my favorite way is a website called Random Question Generator. All you need to Google is Random Question Generator. And there are many different websites. I will leave my favorite websites in the description. Now, what you can do with these websites is all you do is you click the button that generates a random question. Now, what you need to do is as soon as you see that question, I want you to open your mouth and start speaking. Don't think about grammar. Don't think about vocabulary. Don't think about pronunciation. Open your mouth and start speaking. Make it your goal to speak for 1 minute on that topic. You can record yourself speaking. You can just use the voice recorder app on your phone. You can also set a timer for 1 minute if you'd like. So when that timer goes off, then you know you've spoken for that amount of time. You don't need to do that. It's just an option. Now, after, you can listen to that recording and you can think about your pronunciation, grammar, sentence structure, vocabulary, and you can think of areas to improve. However, as you're doing the exercise, you're not thinking about your English. You're just speaking. But here's the best part. Because you have already taken the time to think in English every single day. Maybe you get 5, 10, even 20 minutes of practice where you're thinking, you're observing, you're making simple observations more complex. All of that practice that you just did will help you open your mouth and get the words out. Give this activity 1 week, then 2 weeks, then 30 days. I promise you, if you do this 3 times a day for just 2 to 3 minutes, 3 times a day, in 30 days, you are going to be so impressed with your results. So if you're committed to trying this exercise, put let's go in the comments. Number 3, describe images. This is a more guided method because when you describe an image, you can think in your mind, which is absolutely beneficial. I've already mentioned why. Or you can practice speaking out loud, and instead of using a random question generator, you are going to use an image. How are you going to find an image? You can simply go to Google Images and put a random word in, like cat or dog, and choose any image. Or you can go to a website that shares free images, like Pexels, which I'll put in the description as well, and just choose one of the first images on the home page. This is an exercise that I do with my students, and they absolutely love it. And the conversations that we have, the examples that they share are so interesting as well. Now, this is an activity that I do with my students for free on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe so you know the next time that I'm hosting a speaking class. So here's an image that I used in my last speaking class, and the students shared such interesting examples. Now, all you have to do is describe this image. You can make observations about how the people look, their clothing, the background, or you can make statements about what they're doing. So in this image, you might say the man wearing an orange shirt is kneeling. Or you might say, there's an umbrella next to the man. And again, you can make simple statements more complex. There's a bright, multicolored umbrella next to the man. You can even have fun with this and try to guess what is happening in this image. So this is what my students did. Some of them said that the man is proposing to the woman. Other people had funny things like the woman is helping the man because he fell. So it was really interesting, the different observations that students made. So you can take any image and use this to both speak in your head, maybe on the way to work. If you're on the bus or train, you can do this activity in your head, think in your head, or you can practice speaking out loud. So are you going to practice this activity? If you are, put I'm committed because I want to know that you're committed to practicing this activity, and I want you to be committed because I know the results that you're going to get are going to make you so confident, so happy, and so proud. Number 4, a daily summary. Now, this is an activity that you should start doing regardless, because preparing a daily summary is a great way to reflect on the day and ask yourself, what areas am I very proud of? What areas could I improve on? And this is just a great thing to do for your overall personal development, but we'll focus on how this activity can help you train your brain to think and speak in English. Well, the same thing that we talked about before. You can think these activities in your head, and if you are in a public place, this is a great time to just think the activities. If you are in a more private place, then you can say it out loud, and always remember the option is there to record yourself speaking. And with your daily summary, of course, you can summarize your day. You can talk about the best part of your day, the worst part of your day, 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things you're proud of, 3 things you want to improve. And the best part is you don't need to summarize your whole day, so you don't need to do this at night. Maybe your nights are very busy getting your kids ready for school or preparing for work the next day. So you could do this activity every day at noon, at lunchtime, and you can summarize your morning. So the daily summary doesn't have to be your entire day. You could summarize your morning, you could summarize a meeting at work, you could summarize your evening, or you can do this multiple times a day. So you could summarize your morning and then summarize your evening. So you have the opportunity to do this twice a day. Whatever works best for you, the more you practice, the faster you'll get results. I have 2 bonus tips for you. Bonus tip number 1, surround yourself in English as much as you can. Ask yourself, what can I do to make my environment more English? Can you change the settings on your phone or your computer? Can you start listening to English music? Can you start watching English TV shows? What can you do that's easy for you to do to make your environment more English? Can you put labels on all the items in a room or your entire house, and they're English labels? So think about one thing that you can do to make your environment more English, because of course, the more you surround yourself with the language, the more that your brain will absorb that language. And bonus tip number 2, the most important, is be patient. This is not going to dramatically change your English overnight, but in 7 days, you will see some results. In 14 days, you will see some results. In 30 days, you will see some results. But if you take those results from the 7 days, 14 days, and 30 days, guess what? The result is a lot bigger than you may realize. And that's only 30 days. Imagine you do these 4 very simple, free activities that only take a few minutes, and you do these activities every day for 90 days. Imagine the results that are possible. So be patient. With these tips, you'll be able to think and speak in English. So now let me share 9 tips to help you impress natives with your speaking skills. Number 1, master the basics. It certainly will not impress anyone, not native speakers, not your teacher, not other students, if you say, I go store now. I'm sure you know that the correct way is to say, I'm going to the store now. But maybe you forgot that article. I'm going store now. Even forgetting one small word, the article, the store, or using the wrong verb tense, the present simple, I go, instead of the present continuous, I'm going, makes a big difference in how you communicate and how others receive your message. But don't worry, you don't need to master every single grammar concept in the English language. You only need to master the basics. There are 12 verb tenses in English, but only 6 verb tenses make up 96% of speech. This is why you should focus first on mastering the basics. Make sure you have correct sentence structure, basic grammar, and then you can keep improving and keep learning more advanced concepts. Number 2, use contractions. I know what you're thinking, but contractions are not slang. Contractions are grammatically correct. Contractions are not unprofessional. Contractions are used in professional and formal English. Contractions help your speech sound more friendly, fluid, and natural. Let's take this common greeting. If you say it without the contraction, it will be, "How is it going?" That doesn't sound impressive because it doesn't sound natural. A native speaker would say, "How's it going?" They would take "how is" and form a contraction, "how's." How's it going? Repeat after me. How's it going? Now you'll impress a native speaker. Number 3, connect your words. A lot of students will pause between words, but this does not sound natural. It sounds very robotic and it makes your English level seem more beginner than it probably is. So if you pause between words, it definitely won't impress native speakers. Let's take the expression we used before. How's it going? So let's say you apply tip 2 and you use that contraction. How is how's? But you pause between those words. How's it going? This won't impress a native speaker. You need to combine those sounds. So repeat after me. How's it going? We have how's and it, so we can combine that together and it sounds like how's it? How's it? How's it going? And even though there is no connection between it and going, I still don't pause between them. How's it going? Repeat after me. How's it going? So if you connect your words, you will definitely impress natives. Number 4, use idioms and expressions. Congratulations, you already learned one that will help you sound natural and impress natives. How's it going? You can use this instead of asking, "How are you?" or "How are you doing?" How's it going? And because you know how to pronounce it, you will feel confident using it. There are so many idioms and expressions in English, and you can just add a few every day or every week to help build your vocabulary so you impress natives. Let's start with some basic ones. Instead of "I'm tired," what could you say that's an alternative way, more of an expression? You could say, "I'm beat." I'm beat. Instead of "I'm going to bed," "I'm hitting the hay." Or instead of "You did a great job," "You rocked it." Most of my students already use this one because I use it with my students almost every video. You rocked it. You did a great job. So if you think I'm doing a great job with this video, why don't you show your encouragement, show your support, and put rocked it in the comments to practice this so you remember it so the next time you can use it with natives to impress. And if you don't like that expression, find a different one. You can say "You rocked it," "You killed it," "You crushed it," "You nailed it." All of those are commonly used and will impress natives. Number 5, use phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are not slang. Phrasal verbs are grammatically correct. Phrasal verbs are not unprofessional. Phrasal verbs are professional, friendly, and natural. And sometimes there is no other way to communicate an idea. Sometimes you must use a phrasal verb to correctly and naturally communicate this idea. Let's take a look at this image. What are the people doing? Maybe you could say they're leaving the bus. That is a direct translation. They're exiting the bus. Again, a direct translation. They're getting off the bus. This is the correct and natural way to communicate this idea. In this case, the phrasal verb get on to enter and get off to exit is the only word used to communicate this idea naturally in English. So you must use this phrasal verb to impress native speakers. Otherwise, it will sound like you're using awkward direct translations from your native language. Number 6, understand syllable stress. Since this lesson is on speaking, you must understand and use the concept of syllable stress, which may not exist in your native language, in order to speak in a natural way that impresses native speakers. In English, in every word that's more than one syllable, there is a stressed syllable and an unstressed syllable. Let's take this picture. What is this? Say it out loud. What is this? Did you say banana? Or did you say banana? Banana. Using the correct syllable stress will instantly make you sound more natural. So whenever you're learning a new word, you must learn the syllable stress. The phonetic alphabet tells you specifically where the stress is, and you can listen to an audio dictionary and listen for the syllable that sounds louder and longer. Banana, louder and longer. Na is the stressed syllable. Ba and are the unstressed. Banana. That's how you can say this word and impress native speakers. Number 7, vary your tone. Did you know that only 7% of communication is the words you say? 38% is your tone of voice, which represents the rising and falling of the sound of your voice. So you may already understand this concept because when you ask a question in English, a yes or no question, you have a rising intonation, which means the tone of your voice rises. Would you like a banana? Banana. So my tone comes up at the end. But notice how my tone changes when I say, I hate bananas. I hate. My tone comes down. I love bananas. My tone comes up on love. Imagine you just said, I hate bananas. I love bananas. Notice how different that sounds. The words are exactly the same. The only difference is my tone. In every sentence you say, there should be a rising and falling of your tone. This is something you can practice by recording yourself and listen back and ask yourself if you can hear those rises and falls. But you also don't want it to be too dramatic because that will not impress natives. Number 8, add body language. You already know that 7% of communication is your words, 38% is your tone, and that leaves 55% for, you guessed it, your body language. Let's look at this picture. Of course, there are no words, so we can't hear the tone of voice because there are no words. But these people are communicating a message. What are they communicating? I'm sure some emotions instantly come to your mind. Some negative emotions instantly come to your mind. They are communicating even though there are no words. How about now? This is the same couple, but notice they're communicating an entirely different message, even though there are still no words, no tone of voice, because there are no words. It is only their body language that they're using to communicate. So when you record yourself to practice your intonation, why not use the video recorder instead of just audio so you can look at yourself and look at your body language and ask yourself if any improvements could be made. Number 9, my personal favorite, smile. There are so many studies that show the importance of a smile. Did you know that even studies where people were talking on the phone, salespeople were rated higher when they delivered their sales script while smiling compared to while not smiling, even though this was a phone conversation? A smile is obvious even when you're talking on the phone, because when you smile, it raises your tone, which makes you sound more friendly. Imagine you go into a job interview and you say, "Hello, nice to meet you. My name's Jennifer." "Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Jennifer." Simply by adding that smile. Imagine I started this video and said, "Today you're going to learn 9 tips." Today you're going to learn 9 tips. Of course, a smile is very closely related to your tone of voice because, as I said, it raises your tone, and you need the appropriate body language to go with your smile as well. So when you're recording yourself and you're recording yourself with video, you can look back and watch yourself as you smile. Now, it is not natural to smile the entire time you're talking, so definitely don't do that. But as a fun exercise, you can review this video and review it for my tone of voice, my body language, and my smile. And why not rate me? I'm sure I still have areas to improve as well. And I'm constantly trying to improve how I communicate because I also want to impress native speakers and non-native speakers. I want to impress everyone with my message, especially you. So keep practicing these 9 tips, and I have another lesson I know you'll love, so make sure you watch it right now.